Morning. You're listening to Power Talk with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. I told her we missed her tap dancing yesterday, and I told her that the listeners really missed her, and she didn't believe me. So you have to let her know that you really missed her. I have something interesting today. I don't know what you got, but I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to send you messages here. Okay. One thing that I found very interesting is this pro-life walkout that took place that nobody paid any attention to. Over 200 high schools did a walkout yesterday to support all lives. All lives matter. And the young man that put it together, he said he was testing his school to see if they would go along with this like they did the walkout for, protest against the NRA. And they did let them walk out. They did do that. They even had some colleges that went along with this. So it was really a huge thing, but they got no press. They got very, very little press. Very few pictures taken. He said that while they did let them go, they let them do their walkout, they did not give them the support that they gave the other kids. They gave them tents and they gave them PA systems, and they really supported everything that they did. They just gave them permission to do it. So he did a really good job putting it all together. They had about 200 schools and a couple of colleges, few colleges involved in it. 80 colleges, it says, across the United States, and that's big. 200 schools and 80 colleges. I know we have a lot more. I know that's minute and a big number of things, but that's a pretty huge walkout. That's a pretty huge protest or statement made by these young people who were protesting for life. Protesting, is that the right word? Standing up for life. And so they did a walkout against abortion, basically, is what it was, against abortion to save the children. And, and of course it goes back to the fact that the press isn't going to cover that. They're just not going to cover that because it doesn't fit their narrative. But I thought it was really interesting, and I didn't know if you saw any of that or not.
Well, it's one thing to, you could, figure that, the liberal media is not going to, cover it, but it's disgraceful that your conservative media didn't. Yeah, but it's they're not going
to. I saw it on Laura Ingram's last night, and she was talking about it. So some did cover that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, good, great, super.
Yeah, but the mainstream media did not. That was all they were talking about when it was the kids, and it was like you'd have thought it was every school in the nation that did that other. And of course, this was 200 schools and 80 colleges, and the young man that put it together, his name is Brandon Gillespie, and he wanted to test his school administrators when he planned this walkout to protest abortion. He said, would the school punish anti-abortion protesters for leaving classes for 17 minutes? And the same time of the students taking part in the national walkout for the NRA, that happened in March. And so about 40 students in his school did the walkout. He said the answer was no. The school did not punish them, but they also did not support them. And they had a teacher there that just questioned back in March. She questioned, and she got punished for even questioning, being biased with against the NRA or against gun control or for gun control or whatever, against the Second Amendment. And she got punished, as in suspended. And so Gillespie was trying to test the school. They only halfway passed the test. And I believe, let's see, it says here that, go ahead.
I have a question for you. Okay. This just kind of popped into my head.
Uh-oh.
I know I'm going to get myself in trouble. I know.
Or me.
No, I think it's wonderful. I think you're right. That article, that story should certainly get more. And kudos, for the
young man.
For the yes, for them doing so. But
it's always a but.
We did that when we were going to school. We'd be suspended. And
It wouldn't have mattered what the walkout was about.
It wouldn't matter what it was about. And, even with the, the walkout against the NRA, I mean, yes, but to give these kids time during school, they should do it after school, before school, during
lunchtime.
During lunchtime, it should not be. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be given. They shouldn't have been able to. Because then my next question is: do we have a complaint when you have football players kneeling? During their work time, they're getting paid. Are they allowed to express even how disgusting that it is, do they get to express their, whatever they're trying to express?
Their protests, their mini protests.
Yeah, so
they do have to get, they do have to get permission.
You can do anything at any time. Nobody has to respect time. No one has to respect, and so this precedence of you can do anything at any time,
they had to get permission. They have to get permission to have this. It was 17 minutes of a walkout.
I understand getting permission.
Well, I know how that would have gone when I was in high school, but anyway, it wouldn't have happened. But they had to get permission for the 17 minutes. And it's sad that we've come to this point where school is being used as a platform rather than as education.
Yep. Exactly.
But let me go back to the article, and it says Gillespie and Benzel is the teacher that got punished. Both say that Tuesday's protesters were not treated the same as the participants in the national school walkout, who were given tents to shelter them from the rain and a public address system. Teachers also were directed not to discipline students who participated in the March 14th protest, Benzel said. She said also similar directives were not given to the teachers about Tuesday's protest. It was okay if they disagreed with them. So there's obviously prejudices. They thought they covered their behinds good enough by just letting the kids do it. But I think they are going to, there is a group that's going to go after the school for not being more supportive. But I think that's just ridiculous. Just let it go. It happened. But it is sad that they're using these kids. Now, this kid did this on his own. And I think he did a tremendous job. He had 200 schools and 80 colleges that joined in. But he did it on his own. Whereas the other ones, it wasn't student-driven. They had all these Democrats lined up there, and that they helped, and that's why they got tents, and that's why they got public address systems. So where are the conservatives to back up these kids?
Yeah.
Where were their senators and their representatives that could have been there? They didn't get the support from their representatives and senators, is what I'm saying, where the other ones, the Democrats, just rallied around them, in fact, probably helped actually put it together, whereas this was done solely by the students. So you have to give him kudos. You have to give him kudos on that.
Absolutely.
So a little bit of orneriness, I think, with testing the school. Well, we'll just see if they're going to let us get away with it too, But they did have to get permission. They have to get a permit, I guess, and all that good stuff. And there was another student, and I didn't get to really study this in depth. This is not pro-life. This is about the gun control issue. And it says, while the media continues to focus on gun control in the wake of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, why did they do that? That is such a long name. It says, one area student has dug into school's policies and found them wanting. Well, he goes in, he's a 19-year-old student who's a journalist, and he gets into and he starts digging into it, and he finds out that there's $100 million in federal money that's sitting there that was intended to be used for school safety upgrades, and they haven't used but, how much was it? It was barely any of it, 5% or something. They haven't hardly used any of the money. So, he was, and of course I'm thinking, why do we have $100 million sitting there for school safety? But anyway, this was coming from the Daily Signal and Jarrett Stepman, I really like some of his writings. He wrote it, but it's all about this one student that did his research, and when he went and asked the administration about it, he was shot down. Wasn't allowed to really have his say. They were supposed to have a panel and have a discussion about it, and they removed some of his people from his panel, and they were only going to give him 3 minutes. So he wasn't going to be allowed to talk, and he was going to bring an attorney in or somebody in to kind of witness and watch what was being said and everything, and they wouldn't allow that either because they said then the superintendent didn't have a representative. So anyway, it was he was chased down, but he actually dug in and did some research, and I was kind of proud of him for doing that. He should be graduating, I think, if he's 19 years old. But
yeah, you think?
I think he should be graduated by now. I was 17 when I graduated. Oh, well, anyway, kudos to the students because they are, we're only hearing the ones that are on the liberal side. So, pats on the back for these other students that are trying to make a stand as well for what they believe.
Very good.
Very
good. Yes, absolutely.
I got clapped. Were you clapping, or were you just wiping your hands off? Okay.
I wasn't tap dancing. I was clapping.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. I knew it wasn't tap dance. I can tell you tap dance when that happens.
Oh boy, I'm away for a day, and it's hard to get.
We just lose it, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do. We certainly do. We're going to be heading into a break here pretty soon, and there was a report out today. Let me bring it up here. U.S. weekly jobless claims hold below 300,000 for the longest streak on record. Continuing claims by those out of work longer than a week rose 53,000 in the week ending March 31st. And but there was, so everybody's going, yay. However, there was an interesting report. I talked about it briefly yesterday on my program. I mean, the San Francisco Fed comes out and says that America's part-time worker problem is permanent. So all of these jobs, that are being created, they're all part-time. Mm-hmm. How could you sustain a family?
You can't.
How do you clothe and feed a family on a part-time job? Part-time jobs don't offer the benefits, and that was one of the big problems with Obamacare, because he was forcing companies to supply health insurance for full-time employees, so employers were lowering the hours. And Trump said, not Trump, but Obama says, no, you can't do that. So we're going to lower the hours for full time. So you have to pay health insurance for your employers. So employers lowered those hours even more. And so here you get a class of working class of all part-time people. But this was people talk about how great it is. America has millions of new jobs, falling unemployment, but they're part-time jobs. And as I mentioned, this came out with, and it's funny because we've been talking about part-time jobs for years and years and years, at least since 2008 for the Great Recession, and probably prior to that. Here you have the Fed president of San Francisco gets paid millions of dollars to do his job, and he's just now recognizing the fact that, well, gee, part-time jobs is a problem. So it's... So when you hear about the low employment percentage and you hear about all these millions of jobs being created, again, those part-time jobs.
They're part-time jobs. I hear the music. We're headed into a break. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and the number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann, we'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann. Speaking of, I'm going to get slapped for this comment. Speaking of part-time, that's what you've been here lately with you being gone yesterday.
Excuse me?
I knew I was going to get hit for that one.
Excuse me? Yeah, well, you're going to be gone for 2 days next week. We might just do replays for those 2 days.
I am going to be speaking, so
well, I speak
shout out for that. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be speaking in the state of California instead of the little city of California, the little 4,000 population California, Missouri. I'm going to be in the state of California, Modesto. Never been there before. Never been to the state of California. Never been to Modesto. Never been anywhere really. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Emma Bundy's going to be speaking. One of the Hage relatives, I believe, is going to be speaking. John Duarte is going to be speaking, and there's just lots of people. One of the Lucases is going to be speaking of Lucas Oil. They have Protect the Harvest, and I think it's his daughter that will be speaking. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll be speaking too, so it's going to be fun. And it's about property rights. So if anybody wants to check that out, you can go to rangerights.com. It's just rangerights.com. And they've given me the time slot of right after lunch on Saturday. So they said that I'm supposed to keep them all awake after they've eaten.
You better hope they didn't have a liquid lunch.
I'm not sure what song and dance I'll do, but I've been working on my speech. So anyway, back to yours. Go back to your
something else I have here. The
part-time.
Fed collected record individual income taxes through March. In individual taxes through the first 6 months, and it's not enough.
No.
It's not enough.
Well, Paul Ryan can't quit then. We need more money.
They're still running a $600 billion deficit. So, Everybody thinks that how do you grow yourself out of that? You can't. We have a debt that can't be paid, and I heard all this discussions. That we're going to go back and we're going to delete some of the things from the bill, and so good luck with that. Have you ever known government to go back and eliminate something that they passed? Of course not.
Oh, heavens, no.
Of course not. So, and what would they do? A couple billion here, a couple billion there. Hey, it was 1.3, and they want to get it under $1 trillion. Okay, so you're basically looking at $4 billion. So, are you kidding me? Well, no, it'd be a little more. No, I'm thinking of one.
But it is something that's not been done. It is something that's not been.
I was thinking of 1.03, and so 1.3 would be a little more than $3 billion. It'd be 300. But anyway, still peanuts. Still.
Well, and I understand what you're saying, but we've not had a president or anybody that's done that before, have we? Gone back and said, "Wait a minute, back the truck up. I didn't want to sign this darn thing in the first place, and we're going to start cutting it apart." I mean, we've never had one, to my knowledge, that has done that before.
Well, the only thing they could cut would be the benefits. Mm-hmm. And that's what they want to do. That's what they're going to be going after. You have
they
more.
Could cut Planned Parenthood.
Well, it's not going to happen. You're going to have more. Well, and then you have more confidence in the leadership in Washington than I do. So.
I didn't say they would. I said they could. That's something they could do.
A lot of things. They could do a lot of things, like cut their own salaries. They could cut their own benefits.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I don't see that happening. So, again, they continue to. You have the national debt. I just saw this headline. They're looking at the national debt. $40 trillion. Well, I don't think it's ever going to get to $40 trillion because I think they'll have to. It's going to cut the tank before then. And they'll have to address that issue first before it gets to $40 trillion. So, I mean, these are big numbers. And so there was something that I had here about the debt. And it's the entitlements. Mm-hmm. And this was dated yesterday. And the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office 2017 Long-Term Budget Outlook, indisputably proves that Social Security and Medicare shortfalls overwhelmingly are causing the coming long-term debt. Social Security and Medicare costs are rapidly rising due to the retirement of 74 million baby boomers into a system that already runs substantial per-person deficits. Today's typical retiring couple has paid $140,000 into Medicare, and they will receive $420,000 in benefits. Yeah, that's a program that'll continue to work. Most Social Security recipients also come out ahead. Back in the 1960s, 5 workers supported the benefits of each retiree, yet within 15 years, each retiree will be supported by only 2 workers. It shows that between 2017 and 2047, Social Security and Medicare will run a cash deficit of $82 trillion. 30 years, $82 trillion. Specifically, Medicare will run a $40 trillion cash deficit. Social Security will run a $19 trillion cash deficit, and the interest cost of these deficits will add another $23 trillion. The rest of the budget have been projected to run a $4 trillion surplus over this period, although making the latest tax cuts permanent would likely change us to roughly $5 trillion deficit. I mean, for people who read these numbers and think that we're just going to go along in this little nice rosy path and that we have no future issues to face us and that there is one single individual that can fix our problem, I don't get it. How can you look at these numbers and we're just talking about Social Security and Medicare? We're not talking about Medicaid. We're not talking about everything else. The rest of the interest on our debt. How can anyone think that there's, can anyone? The only thing anyone can do is to keep the system going for as long as it can go.
It also, the government got into things they had no business getting into. They had no business starting a Social Security. They had no business starting income tax. They had no business doing a lot of things that they're doing. And that's another reason why we're broke. They just keep throwing this stuff out there. Well, we need to do this or we need to do that. How many grants are out there, government grants for these universities or these researchers or these think tanks that they get this, maybe not think tanks, but they get this money? Where do they get the right to send tax dollars to support things like Planned Parenthood when you and I don't support that? And then they get up and scream about you having a gun or me having a gun. It infuriates me. They just spend, and they do that to control. So, and they have just put us in debt so they can.
They had no business creating the Federal Reserve. They
Absolutely.
had no business taking us off the gold standard. But everything that they did, once they took us off the gold standard, there is no fiat currency that has ever survived. There's only one conclusion when it comes to a fiat currency, and that's death of your monetary system. That is the collapse of your monetary system, and much, much more. It'll be the death of your freedoms, your liberties. They took us off the gold standard. Why? That's how they got us out of the Depression. That's how they created. That's why government is the size of it is today. No accountability. And you go through. They took us off the gold. They confiscated our gold. They closed the silver in 70s. In 60s, and then in the 70s they closed the gold. See the progression.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes people think there's no day of reckoning coming for that recklessness that was done? And we can sit and we can squawk, we can complain, we can tell people what they need to do to protect themselves against this. But there's a lot of folks out there who hope that we won't get to that point. But there's no other road to take. We're getting there one way or another. And I've said this, now I'm beginning to hear other people say this, but I've said this for a very long time. One day we're going to wake up to a brand new world.
Yes, I think you're right.
And you're going to say, gee, what happened? And you're going to try to prepare and it's going to be too late. It will be too late. And it's just like, people wait for the hurricane to come. It might take a different direction. It might go out to the sea, and we wait. And the next thing you know, your roof and everything you've owned has been destroyed because you didn't prepare, thinking that it's going to go in a different direction. But something blew it back into your direction, and you lose everything. And, and it's all a matter of hope. We hope. We're told constantly, I'm going to change. Things are going to change. Things can change. Things cannot change. And
not as they are, that's for sure.
Yeah, you might see a little temporary, maybe the more and more people I talk to, I hear all the time, I work harder and harder and I don't get anywhere. You hear the government talking about, our target of inflation is 2% from the Federal Reserve. They're nuts. They're lying to you. That's what they want because that's the level that they can control. When it comes to the balance of, in order for them to manage. That's what they need. But do you really believe you have less than 2% inflation? Did I say interest? With 2% inflation? Do you believe that's all you have, that you're experiencing your health care? Did that go up less than 2%? I don't think so.
Oh, my gosh, it went up.
What about your food?
Yeah. And it just keeps going up.
And it keeps going up.
And nothing ever goes back down. Nothing ever goes back down.
And it isn't because the world is doing a great job of supply and demand. Oh, wow, all those dollars are out there, and I'm getting paid more, and I'm getting raises. I can go out and spend more, so there's more. No, ladies and gentlemen. It's because your dollar is worth less. And you can put your savings into a bank account, a savings account. But, of course, this country, we don't save. We talk about China's debt. Well, those people they save a little bit more than we do, probably a lot more. They're even encouraged to buy gold. When was the last time your government told you to buy gold? They tell you to go buy duct tape. I mean, it's just sometimes it's just maddening to see that, we're in this place. And while we turn on the news every day, we watch the market reports, the Dow keeps going higher, and, we watch these things and so forth. And in the meantime, people are put in these places that they'll never get out of. They stand to lose so much that they'll never recapture. Your Social Security, your Medicare. I had to keep my mouth quiet because someone was talking about the, how Social Security gives you a raise every year, to keep up with inflation. And I'm thinking, what, are you totally insane? I mean, how absurd is that? You get, what, 30 cents, maybe $1?
Yeah, it's not even close. Not even close.
Come on. And yet we have these problems. How do we address these problems? No one can address these problems because the pain is too great. They'd rather take us down this road to just let it collapse on its own. Then they don't have to take the blame.
Social Security was a bad idea from the get-go. But my understanding was you're paying in and you get out, and they were supposed to put it in and it was supposed to gain some interest or whatever. But, of course, then they robbed it. But the whole idea was it was a savings account, so to speak, for you. Why did we need them? Why did we need Social Security? We didn't. It was a big, what would they call it, Ponzi scheme in and of its own. It was a mess, and it's still a mess, and it's still a burden upon the American people. Most people would rather not pay it and keep it. But we don't seem to have that. Oh, you can opt out. You can opt out, but only under certain circumstances.
All right.
So what's that say? What's that say?
And what's really irritating is you have the trust fund. That's a liability for taxpayers, and those were the loans taken out from a crooked politicians. IOU, $3 trillion. And it's...
Maybe we should start cashing those in.
What, to the taxpayer?
No, to
That's
the
who pays?
Congressman.
Oh.
To the congressman, make them pay.
Anything. They don't pay anything. And they run.
No, but they're set for life.
And you have all these Republicans that are stepping down, retiring.
Yeah, I want to talk about that here in a second, but I want to mention one more thing here before we move on. I don't know if you saw this, and I talked about it a little bit. I had an article from Newsmax yesterday about it, and here's another article, and I can't remember where this was coming from. I want to say the Examiner. Anyway, President Donald Trump has signed an executive order pushing for welfare reform. And he's going to try and get more people off welfare and into work. We'll see how that works out. But
it's the same thing Clinton did.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what takes place with it. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember Clinton doing that, but I was a little busy back in that day.
Yeah, no, he I can't exactly what program it was, but he tinkered with the welfare system.
An executive order, though? Was it an executive order, or was it something?
I don't know exactly what it was, but he did do something with welfare, and I don't know if one of our listeners might have it.
It didn't work. It didn't work.
Not, but so
maybe he increased it.
No. I mean, no. It actually, I can't recall what happened to it, but he did tinker with it. So.
Well, I know we have more people on welfare now than we've ever had, and we have more people on Medicaid than we've ever had. People can't seem to get off the government dole.
Obamacare. That's also another
Obamacare.
big part there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's where they go.
The thing that bothers me with welfare, nobody's against helping somebody through a bad period of time. Nobody's against a hand up, but handouts. But the thing with the welfare is it's a generation after generation after generation in families, and it has enslaved these folks, and so they don't know anything else. That's all they know. Now, some people have gotten themselves out of it. I will admit that there are some people that have really climbed up out of that hole, but it's not a good thing, and it certainly hasn't done anything for the war on poverty. We have more poverty now than we ever had. War on drugs. We have more drugs in this nation than we ever had. Anyway, I'm throwing those out generally speaking. I don't have any statistics in front of me, so. But I do want to talk about
it is okay to help people, but it's not to support them for the rest of their lives.
No, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Through a period,
Yeah.
I didn't get any government help, but it would have been nice if I'd had, the community came together for us when we lost our home in a fire, and it was devastating. I had the fifth child was on the way. I was 8 months expecting whenever that all happened in the winter of 1983, and it was devastating. It would have been nice to have had a little help up, but community did it. The community helped us. The churches in the community helped us, and you didn't turn to the government. But we didn't get anything from Goodwill or Salvation Army, that does go out and help people that go through those things. But they didn't, because we had the community that stepped up. But of course, we had the advantage of living in a small community. And unfortunately, when something like that happens at Christmas time, people are a little more giving than if it happens in July or another time of the year. People don't pay as much attention. Their hearts aren't as ripped out or something. I don't know. Anyway, nobody's against helping somebody up and through a bad time, but to keep them there and then to have families that are generation after generation after generation on the government dole, and that's the only way they know how to survive. That really is bad. It's bad for this nation.
And what's really sad is, in one hand, the government took it away from them by the loss of jobs, by all the factors come in there, and then they pay them through the other hand. So they take, and then they give through benefits and so forth, and that is the control. And it's and it all comes back. Government would not have been able to do that if they were held accountable through the gold standard.
My understanding, and I don't know everything, but my understanding with this executive order is he's trying to get those who are on welfare to work. And I know there are some states in this nation that have done that. If you're on welfare, you work. And so they do have to work on welfare, and more people are getting off of welfare because they're working. Now, when I say work, I'm not sure exactly what they're having them do, but it is something for the state, and they have to work, maybe for the community, whether it's pick up, I don't know what it is. But I know that it has been working in other states, and more people are getting off and more people are getting to work. And so putting people to work is a good thing. Getting them off of welfare is a good thing for everybody. And you don't do them any good. You can teach them. You can hand them a fish, or you can teach them how to fish, as the old saying goes. But I do want to talk. I did want to get on to what you mentioned about all these congressmen. They're like rats fleeing a sinking ship. That's the way I see it. There's more Republicans than there is Democrats. I think it's almost like a 40-10, something like that. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, okay.
I'm listening.
Well, you started talking about it, so I thought maybe you had some information as well. I've got a list. I got their names. I got their names and their states, but there's a whole bunch of them. A whole bunch of Republicans. And I just, my little mind works a little differently, I guess. But I just kind of wonder, these Republicans that are leaving, they're not overly concerned about having this majority, are they?
No, they're not. And I mean, to me, they're, it just shows who their characters truly are, what their character truly is. And what I'm hearing and reading a little bit more about the Democrats and seeing how they got a stronghold. And I think they're figuring out, and I don't know if they've gone, if this was part of it or what, but they truly are targeting the youth. I think you're going to see a lot of these Democrats in this election coming up being younger. It's not going to be the old gray-haired politician anymore. Yeah. We can only hope, but
she'll get some more plastic done.
Yeah, gets Botox. That's probably why she's having all those facial problems. Is from all the Botox that she's got. But and I don't, I can't be good for you. I'm sorry. I don't get how that can be good for you. I know people in their 40s that are getting Botox, and it's like, I mean, even if you watch the TV. Pundits, you'll always look at their far. I don't know why. This is what I do. I shouldn't. But I always look between their eyebrows to see if they have any wrinkles, and most of them don't.
I'm feeling mine.
And I'm thinking, oh gosh, they're getting Botox and they're so young.
I have that little crease, when you squint in the sun and stuff. I've got that little crease in between my eyebrows. So no Botox, no Botox.
But anyway, I think the timing of Paul Ryan stepping down is interesting. He's doing it, prior to the elections. Why? I mean, he's going to be in there till January. Why wouldn't he do it after it's no big deal. I mean, I don't know if they have a time frame that they must comply to, but his timing is certainly a little bizarre. And
well, we know he's been a colossal failure as far as representing and standing with the president. We know that. And I when I announced it on air yesterday on CSC Talk Radio and here, I thought I could hear people cheering that he was leaving. We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome. 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. And we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded. It has been borrowed. It has been purchased. It has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldAndSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann. We have a caller on the line. We have Brad in Ohio. Brad, how are you today?
I am fine, thank you. The reason I'm calling is you said that conservative radio did not speak out about the walkout yesterday.
Melody said that. I said that.
Oh, blame me.
Yeah, well, you've got to take the blame because I was in the bathtub when I heard this come on. Anyway, I just wanted to call and let you know that, yes, Glenn Beck did speak about it yesterday. And he said where the media is like crickets. And he was the only one that I did hear mention it yesterday, and I listened to a lot of conservative radio.
Laura Ingram's talked about it last evening, and I did not know about it, or I would have talked about it. But what they were saying was that mainstream media did not cover it. Mainstream media ignored it, and that's what we were saying. And Melody just misunderstood me when I said they weren't covering it. But
the thing of it is, even we have two conservative programs
that covered it.
How many?
Yeah.
Well, hey, you know what? It's great, and I just couldn't believe the turnout. I was unaware of the turnout.
Yeah,
and I
was good.
So pleased.
200 schools and 80 colleges.
You guys got to back off of Donald a little bit. He's under a lot of pressure right now. And I hear you talk about the part-time jobs. Well, that's okay right now. But it's going to change. It will change. He's only been in there for a year. Give him his chance.
All right. Well, I'm giving him his chance. I don't have any choice.
I know it's hard to believe, but we didn't get this way overnight. And I believe God is working in him.
All right.
To bring our nation back to what we was founded on.
You know, I don't know any other person that could endure what he has had to endure in the last several years. Definitely has a strong personality and broad shoulders that he can take it all. I worry a little bit about his family, but, I think they're going to be all right. I appreciate it, Brad. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
you guys have a good day.
Thank you. You do the same.
Kudos. I agree. Kudos to the administration for, but when you add up the numbers and you see where we're heading going forward, again, the numbers just don't. We have technology to deal with. We have, there's a lot of things that when you put these all together, and even in his short term that he's going to have, even if it is 8 years, what happens after 8 years? Now, I think the system has been so manipulated. It has been so, all of these illusions have been created. It's really difficult to see exactly how, what direction that we can go in. Personally, what I've always believed is the system has to collapse before we can go forward, because the system is so, and we are in a new global age, whether people like it or not. I don't like it.
No,
I certainly don't.
We do have to deal with it somewhat. I was going to ask you before we go to the caller. We have another caller. I was going to ask you, have you heard any more about that particular bill regarding the gold standard? Have you heard any more about that?
No, I have not.
Okay, because I was kind of watching on that. And, I think it is, and then we'll go to the caller. I think Brad's right. We need to give President Donald Trump, give him some slack. But I'll tell you what he has accomplished, and you have mentioned this before. He has accomplished a great deal that nobody talks about. But at the same time, when I think about all that he's trying to do, and then the constant boulders, they're not just little pebbles they're throwing at him, they're constant boulders. It's pretty... I used to really get upset at Piers Morgan, and I think it's kind of comical now because he'll show up on one of these conservative talk shows, and
I know. He's they're just so... I know. I mean...
Well, have you seen him? He's been on Tucker Carlson a couple of times. And he was talking about what was going on, and of course, he's pretty upset with the whole mess. And I think everybody is. I think anybody that's really watching, unless they just have an agenda to take us down this socialistic road, I think most people can see that this nation is in real trouble, especially with the way they're attacking the president and not doing anything. And it's not just that they attack him; it's what they say. They're anybody, even on the conservative side, it's their mouths. I get tired of their vulgar language, and they just think they can spew anything out of their mouths or on Twitter. Even this one that yesterday, and I won't say his name, but he's a well-known young guy in the conservative movement, and right now he's all about the First Amendment and blah, blah, blah. And he had tweeted something out, and he used some pretty bad language in it. And I saw Dinesh D'Souza tweet inappropriate. And I'm thinking, why does this kid have to be told? He's not a kid. He's not a teenager anymore. Why does he have to be told, that's really inappropriate? So we get on to the View for their vulgar language, and the nasty women for their vulgar language, and the head of the Democrat Party for his vulgarity, and then somebody like this goes out there and does that. So we're no different sometimes, these conservatives. I just get...
And the thing of it is, you have these conservative politicians who they sit there, whine and grind, say what you're just talking about. Well, why don't they go out and do something? But they don't. They're just puppets, just like everyone else. They're just puppets. And they step down, and they step down instead of standing up. And
that's exactly what we're seeing. They're cowards. They're not true. They're not true conservative. I can appreciate what Paul Ryan said about wanting to spend more time with his family and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. This is the same guy. I'm thinking about that this morning. Wait a minute. Did he think he was going to get more time with his family as Vice President of the United States when he ran for that?
I know. And he's shaking hands, and I'm looking at a picture of him right now shaking hands with, going back to 1996, and
yes.
But anyway, they're all the same.
I know.
They're all the same.
Oh, let's go to Neil. Neil in Missouri. Neil, make us happy.
Hey, I'm just wondering if you're going to ask the question when you get out to that range rights meeting. Ask for a show of hands, find out how many of them got the patents on their properties. If they're going to talk about rights, they better have them. You don't have a patent, you don't have any right to your property.
Yep.
Other than simple possession, as long as the government allows you to possess it. Mm-hmm. So I just wondered if you're going to ask for a show of hands, see how many of them actually have the right to their property.
Well, if I do, I better take your papers with me, hadn't I?
Well, yeah, they may want to know what it is. Most people I talk to have no clue to what the title of real estate is in this country. Mm-hmm. Even attorneys. Most attorneys don't have a clue what a land patent is. They don't teach it in attorney school because they don't want the people to know.
Now, because I am kind of ignorant, I know we've talked about this before. Is it the same as the allodial title? Is that what we were talking about with the land patent and allodial title?
The land patent is the allodial title.
That's okay. That's what I was asking. It's the same thing. So
it's the same thing. That's what it is. Now the states are going to tell you something different. They're going to tell you that their patent or that their deed, that's the allodial title and everybody's got a allodial title. No, that's a lie, because they don't want you to find out what the allodial title actually is. It is the land patent, either Texas or federal, one or the other. If you're in Texas, it has to be the Texas land patent.
And of course, many of these that are out there, they're out from the West, and they've got the grazing rights, and it's a different situation than what you and I have when you own a piece of land here in the state of Missouri. It's a different scenario altogether. So we'll be dealing with lots of different things, but I will take that with me. Thank you.
Yes, but the grazing right thing is based upon them having a patent on the piece of ground that they actually own.
Okay.
Grazing right is just something that they're leasing or that they have because of open range law in the surrounding area. But they have to have the actual patent on the property which they actually live on. That's their residence, of what they actually own.
We're into the music. We're into the music. We're going off the air. So thank you, Neil. Thank you. And I will take that with me. I will take several things with me that I think are very pertinent to.
Will you take me?
Sure,
I want to go to California.
We're not going to do anything fun, though, Melody. We're going to go to these conferences and then come
I don't
home.
buy that one moment for a moment.
All right. Well, I'll prove it. No, we'll have fun. Just meeting patriots is fun to get into those situations. All right, we are out of time. We will be back tomorrow. You've been listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and we wish you a great rest of the day.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.